You?
No, I didn't know. So after the fight had happened, we in the locker room. I think I had just finished changing up. We on the way to the post press or whatever. My father said, "You know, he tried to bite you in there." I said, "What?" I'm like, "It's no like if you in the ring with somebody, you gonna notice that."
But wow, my eyes was burning, and you know, like you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather take the knee than But I didn't really know that you can like get disqualified for all that, or like when you start counting, I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know.
Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis now have their rematch underway after they had their first physical encounter ahead of their rematch, and fired shots have been all over the meeting the pair met to finalize details regarding their rematch, and also had a brief meeting with the press where they both sat and took turns to respond to an interviewer.
That's when he tried biting me. I ain't even noticed that till somebody said something. Somebody said he tried to bite me. I ain't know.
Oh no. What you talking about? They like, they ain't gonna give it to you. I said, oh, is that right? So, that's how boxing.
Eventually, that proved to be a great risk as Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach fired shots endlessly at each other. They didn't come close to a brawl. But the trash talking was crazy. One of the things Lamont Roach kept emphasizing was the fact that he was very much different from others, and as a result, Gervonta shouldn't talk too much about defeating him. On the other hand, Tank kept saying it was a bad day in office, and come their rematch, Lamont Roach would be knocked out cold. This forced Lamont to wish him the same thing, saying, "It's going to be a firefight. I'd break you down."
They talking about it.
Oh, whoa. Force another comparison I don't want to make to Mike Tyson, but
Nah, that's crazy. That's what he do. He get dirty. He know that.
Since the fight ended, Roach has made several appearances on big-time podcasts to discuss the fight and keep his narrative that he should have been victorious rather than the fight being ruled a majority draw circulating, which has kept the conversation around their likely rematch alive. Roach has also been active on social media, and on March 18th, he sent out one post that seems to have irked Tank's fan base, which is likely exactly what Roach was trying to do.
Oh, I didn't know. So after the fight had happened, we in the locker room. I think I had just finished changing up. We on the way to the post press or whatever. My father said, "You know, he tried to bite you in there." I said, "What?" I'm like, it's no like if you in the ring with somebody, you gonna notice.
On some real stuff, why are some of you mad? Cause a lot of people think I won the fight. I'm confused, gang. What's going on? Did I do something to you guys? He wrote on X in a post that has over 21,500 views and 425 comments in less than 2 days. This seems like a classic case of a fighter trying to bait an opponent's fan base to drum up interest in fight, and considering the post's engagement and the fact that the post's comment section is full of Davis fans, the post has done its job. Speaking on the Come and Talk to Me podcast, Roach disclosed details of how he attempted to call Tank after the fight following a bet that had reportedly been made between the fighters before the contest.
So Lamont, I watched your feedback. You broke it down round by round. There was this one part in this video that was kind of going viral the other day where you said it looked like Tank was trying to bite you. Yeah. I'm like, what was that? Like, did you notice that in the moment? I saw you said that in your, in your feedback. What was that?
Look, man, I'm going to tell you, I called his phone. He must have changed his number or something. I didn't get no response. Maybe he's on his thing right now. I called him. And then I DM'd him and told him I called you, call me back. I didn't necessarily talk about the money, but I just told him, call me back. Gervonta Davis held on to his World Boxing Association lightweight title by the narrowest of margins on Saturday night, fighting to a majority draw with Lamont Roach Jr. despite a highly controversial moment in the 9th round that should have saddled Davis with the first defeat of his career. The unbeaten 30-year-old southpaw, nicknamed Tank, could finally breathe a sigh of relief when the final scores were announced following a tightly wound 12-round affair full of two-way action.
Judge at the ringside, Eric Marlinsky scores it on 115 to 113 in favor of Gervonta Davis. Judges Steve Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scored about 114 to 114 The decision is a majority draw.
One ringside judge scored the bout 115-113 for Davis, while the other two had it level at 114-114, ensuring the three-weight champion from Baltimore remained without a loss. The key talking point came in the ninth when Davis voluntarily took a knee near his corner before leaning over the rope, seemingly in search of assistance to clear an issue with his eye. Under the unified rules of boxing, a fighter touching the canvas with anything other than their feet is considered a knockdown, which would have cost Davis a point, if not an outright disqualification, for the corner's interference in the middle of a round. But referee Steve Willis simply allowed Davis to continue after a stern warning, a choice that almost certainly altered the outcome. A sold-out crowd of 19,250 at the Barclays Center made their feelings known when Davis later claimed his vision was impaired by grease from his hair. "It should have been a knockdown," Roach said.
I had to bite you, like, cause we right there. But when I actually went back and looked at the fight, I was like, this motherfucker really did try to bite me. Like, that's what at least that's what it looked like. You can ask him, or you can, if you play the clip and you look at it, it definitely looked like he just tried to bite me and missed or some shit. Like, oh, bitch.
"If that was a knockdown, I would have won the fight." He's saying grease got in his eye. But if he takes a knee and the ref starts counting, it should be a knockdown. It is what it is. I'm not banking on that knockdown to win. I just thought. I pulled it out. Granted special permission to retain his WBA title at 130 pounds, while taking on Davis at 135. Roach came up just short in his bid to claim a world championship in a second weight class against an opponent who went off as a vertiginous 120 favorite. Gervonta Davis takes a knee in the middle of round 9 during Saturday's fight with Lamont Roach Jr. "I think I pulled it out in the last 3 rounds for sure," Davis said. "I was catching him with some clean shots. I felt I was breaking him down as the rounds were going on, but he kept coming, so I didn't want to make mistakes, and I kept it cautious."
And I don't know, but that was crazy. So when he told me that, I was like, nah, he ain't try to bite me out, tripping. But when I looked at it, I was like, damn, they tried. And then even
try to bite you where? Pause.
On his neck.
like
you seen
my
it?
neck,
Yeah.
like ear.
I didn't notice. I seen him hit you with a shoulder one time.
He tried to put his glove up. He tried.
From the opening bell, Roach showed no fear of the heavily favored champion. The 29-year-old from Washington, D.C. remained composed in the opening stages, using his movement and counter-punching to keep his opponent from settling into a rhythm. Davis, a notoriously slow starter, spent first few rounds probing, but his usual patience bordered on inactivity. Roach took advantage, landing sharp right hands and winning most of the early exchanges. The familiarity between the old amateur rivals seemed to benefit Roach, who appeared more poised and comfortable even as Davis began to turn up the pressure in the middle rounds. A concussive right hand in the 6th signaled the champion's awakening, but Roach took it well and stood his ground in the 7th. He stunned Davis with a straight right, forcing the champion to tie up. The challenger, operating with supreme confidence, began dictating the pace and throwing more punches in combination, turning what many expected to be a one-sided fight into a tooth and nail scrap.
Up and you see his face.
Yeah, like,
Oh, niggas wild.
nah, it was crazy.
Oh, niggas.
It was crazy.
Did you see that, Naj, too? You seen that?
Yeah, I didn't see it in the moment, but when I looked at the replay, I'm like, damn, this vampire in Brooklyn right now. It's a little suspect.
I think the commentator said something about
Yeah,
that.
they said something about it too. Like, they was like, here's another comparison to Mike Tyson. Like,
The 8th round saw Roach land a massive counter right uppercut that briefly wobbled Davis, proving he could take the champ's best shots and fire back. Then came the 9th, when controversy struck after absorbing a left hand from Roach that didn't seem to land with full impact. Davis took a knee, whether from fatigue, misplacement of his mouthpiece, or something else. It was a moment that should have been ruled a knockdown. Instead, the 3rd man, Willis, issued only a warning, giving Davis a chance to recover. Fueled by frustration, Davis came out swinging, unleashing bombs, but Roach absorbed them and kept pressing forward. By the Championship rounds Davis was lunging, throwing wild shots that Roach expertly counted. In the 11th, Roach sealed the round with a crisp counter-right, outworking a visibly frustrated Davis. With 3 minutes left, Davis, known for his late fight heroics, tried once more to bait Roach into a mistake, but Roach wouldn't bite. He stuck to his game plan, making Davis miss and landing just enough to keep control.
They say, you know, that's how boxing works. I'm not, like, totally upset. I figured with a superstar, you won't get too much on paper. But, shit, I damn sure thought I had it. Especially when they announced the score for him. I was like, oh, they gonna...
Both men called for a rematch in the immediate aftermath. I want to run it back for sure, said Roach, who landed 112 of 400 shots, 28% according to CompuBox's punch statistics, compared to 103 of 279. For Davis, 36.9%. I'll be back on the grand stage again, where I belong. Davis said that it was his own substandard performance that made the fight close rather than anything Roach brought to the table. To be honest, I really made it competitive, Davis said. For sure, Lamont is a great fighter. He's got the skills. He's got punching power. It was a learned lesson. Shout out to Lamont Roach and his whole team. Hopefully, we can run it back.
As soon as I heard that 114, I was just like, damn, all right, it's over with. So, yeah, man, it's just crazy. I ain't gonna lie. It's okay. We gonna run it back. It's okay.
A rematch between Davis and Roach looks set to take place following the events of the first encounter between the pair, with an official announcement expected to take place in the coming weeks. It has been reported that the fight will happen in either May or June. The New York State Athletic Commission upheld the Gervonta Davis-Lamont Roach result, which ended in a majority draw after a controversial 9th round, according to a ruling obtained by ESPN on Friday. In the ruling, the commission said Roach's protest was denied because the bout continued for more than 3 full rounds after the referee's no knockdown call, and because the boxers necessarily adjusted to the referee's ruling. The referee's call was not outcome determinative.
The part with the grease in the eye, that took on a life of its own, you know what I'm saying? That was a headline in the fight. One is, what did you think when he said that initially, just like the grease in the eye? But 2 is like, when you was in the fight, was there any point that you saw that? Like, did you see like him kind of messing with his eye, or did you have any indication that that was something that was bothering him?
No, see, and that's the thing. If you look at the whole fight, he was never bothering his eyes before
you jabbed him.
Before I jabbed him. Even
Davis, one of boxing's top stars, took a knee in round 9 after a series of Roach punches that landed. Referee Steve Willis started to count, but when he reached 3, he stopped and didn't rule it a knockdown. The commission's ruling stated that following an extensive after-act review of the footage of the 9th round, that the most appropriate call would have been for the referee to determine that Mr. Davis's knee contacting the canvas constituted a knockdown. However, the determination of whether a knockdown occurred in that instance was within the discretion and authority of the referee. The ruling also observed that if a knockdown was called, it would be impossible to know if the final 3 rounds would have remained the same.
So,
But you say you don't think he willing though.
whatever. See, but who cares? Like, sweat gonna get in your eye, blood gonna get in.
Such conjecture would be misplaced, and setting such a precedent is not viewed by the commission as guaranteeing a correct outcome retroactively, or as in keeping with the best interest of boxing. The ruling said, if Willis called a knockdown, Roach would have won by a decision. Instead, the WB, a junior lightweight champion, settled for a draw as he attempted to become a 2-weight champion in what would have represented a shocking upset. Davis was a -20,000 favorite per ESPN bet. Lamont and his team remained disappointed by the announced outcome and the lack of action by the commission, but grateful for the support of the boxing public. Roach's attorney Gregory M. Smith told ESPN Lamont is confident that a rematch will end with a victory, but until then, he is the people's champion at 135 pounds.
You know what I'm saying? But it's not like you can be like, all right, time out, ref. Hold on, ref. You can't do that.
Right. Would you be cool with Steve Willis doing the next fight?
Hell no.
He can't do the next fight.
No, he can't do the next fight.
Right.
Davis of Baltimore said after the bout that the reason he took a knee was because grease from a hair treatment Thursday burned my eyes. Davis was also allowed to have his corner wipe his eyes with a towel, which is prohibited during the round. Only the referee has the authority to halt the action. Davis's in-ring IQ is highly underrated. We've seen him download data during the early rounds against other opponents, but he looked as though he never found his rhythm against Roach. After the fight, Roach had no shortage of supporters. Roach's buddy and Davis's rival Shocker Stevenson praised Roach's performance and even offered to be his next opponent. While that fight makes sense, I'd prefer to see Davis rematch Roach. That is the fight fans want to see most, especially after Roach made us wonder if Davis was truly unbeatable.
I know something funny. When we was talking in like the 12th round, I think the 12th or 11th, we was talking shit, right? But he like, you ain't gonna win.
Roach, a former amateur rival of Davis, deserved to be the leading story after handing Tank a -1,600 betting favorite, the first blemish of his professional career in their controversial majority draw inside Barclays Center. The commission said Monday it requested video replay, but a technical issue prevented it in the allotted time. The 29-year-old Roach of Washington, D.C. remains the WBA title holder at 130 pounds. Roach is rated number 6 by ESPN at lightweight. Davis 30 is ESPN's number 1 lightweight and number 8 pound-for-pound boxer. The highly anticipated rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach has captured the attention of the boxing world, and Ryan Garcia, who has first-hand experience with Davis, has shared his perspective on the outcome. Garcia, who faced Davis in April 2023 and suffered a 7th-round TKO loss, is closely following the trajectory of both fighters.
Shit or nothing like that, but like he wiped his face with a towel. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't do none of that.
Right.
That's a disqualification. You turned your back on the ref after you took a knee. Usually the ref will be like, all right, he don't want to fight no more. Fight.
I don't like knockouts, like punishment. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes things got to happen to make you get back to where you belong at. You know what I'm saying? And that was a good, skillful ass.
To a split decision win for Lamont Roach. He was robbed. The knee hitting the canvas should be a knockdown. The face getting wiped should be a DQ. They didn't use replay, apparently. And we're going to talk to Keith Idec about all this, but there is replay in New York. And a fight that was kind of viewed as an afterthought would now be a gigantic rematch and one of the biggest upsets of the past, 10, 15 years. 16-1 is gigantic.
It was supposed to be another routine night at the pugilistic office for Gervonta Davis and company. On the night, the moment his showdown against Lamont Roach was announced, Team Davis never appeared concerned or unnerved. Roach was a familiar face and had a more than respectable record, and while he did hold a title, he was considered the smaller man. Firmly.
Did you get your hair done 2 days before the fight?
Yeah. I ran water over it today, but I must ain't do it enough.
Can you describe what the feeling was like in the ring? And was it to get the towel out, to get the burn out of your eyes, or what was going on?
I didn't want to get caught.
Viewed as a sizable underdog, Roach fought like a man with something to prove from the beginning. He boxed beautifully from the outside. When Davis forced him to abandon the jab and fight on the inside, he had no issue. By the time the final bell rang, fans inside of Brooklyn's Barclays Center stood dumbfounded. Although they enjoyed 36 minutes of pure violence, they were unsure who would be awarded the victory. As the scores were slowly being tallied, Team Davis patiently waited. In the end, the grins that were etched upon their faces were eventually wiped away as their man was forced to settle for a majority decision draw.